What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I'm going to be reviewing Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I have just beaten the game and taken a look, at the world map for what comes after the base game, but I'm ready. I'm ready to talk about it. I put in, at this point, it was probably a 14 or so hour campaign, but I actually did almost everything. Now, there's a few, maybe like 2 or 3 missions, side kind of things, that towards the very, very end, I said, I'll just do it later. So I did almost everything in the base game, and then there's the after stuff, okay? And there's actually quite a bit of stuff afterwards, but I'm ready to talk about it, and I am not exactly happy. Now, before I get too far in, I do just want to say, shout out, WB Games did provide me a code for this game. They gave it to me at launch day, so I do appreciate that, and as you guys know, codes don't do much, to change my general vibe of the game, so here we go. In some instances, I get it. I get what can make this game special. I'm seeing, I think, a sector of the internet that's really enjoying it, and I can actually understand how. I think the gameplay, and we're going to talk about, every element in this game, but understanding why some people, I think, like it, when it clicks, it does click, and I think there's room to grow with the gameplay, and I think there's potential when working with an actual squad, right, actual other people, that you can make this game rather enjoyable to go around and to shoot things, because I think the shooting mechanic is overall pretty solid. My problems with the gameplay lie more in the format, I guess. It is about as repetitive as you can possibly imagine, and it's actually very sad, to be honest with you. When I played the tech test, I thought, there's not a lot going on in this open world. There's, activities here and there, but not really anything from point A to point B. Maybe they turn things off. I literally said that when talking about the tech test. Well, to respond to myself, the answer was no. They actually didn't turn anything off. That's how the game is. So there'll be objectives for anything you can think of crafting-wise. So when Ivy puts different things on your weapons to freeze enemies or provide fire, those are Ivy missions. You go around and you complete them. Now, the issue is they are all the exact same thing over and over again. So literally, using Ivy as an example, you defend her plants, and you go from one plant to the next 3 different times, and you do it, and then it's over, and you get a something on your weapon, something that can either create ice or fire or electricity or whatever. And that is the exact same for all these characters. If you do a Penguin mission, you are always rescuing people, but you're always rescuing them the exact same way. If you do a Toyman mission, it's the exact same thing every single time. So there are, in my count, maybe 3 to 4 missions in the entire game, and then the boss fights. That's it. And that is my problem. So while I do understand how people can have fun here, and granted, I did play by myself, so I'm throwing that out there. I understand it would be a different experience, at least somewhat, if you're playing with other people. The problems that I have is not necessarily the fun you could have playing with friends. It's that you will be doing quite literally the same 3 to 4, and I guess towards the end, with Brainiac as kind of the central focus, they open up maybe 2 different ones. They're also kind of, actually, the turret one I do like, taking down the massive turret. That is actually pretty fun, even by yourself. The escorting the car is awful. I really don't like it, and you have to do it like 3 or 4 times in the last hour of this game, and then that's also, a side mission you can do afterwards. So I'm spending so much time talking about it because I really want to dissect every part of it. The gameplay loop from, I guess, the customization point and kind of maxing out the potential of these characters, I actually think is okay. I actually think it's strong enough that if you're going to do it and you have a group of friends that are invested, you can have a good amount of fun in this game. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that at all. I cannot imagine myself doing this or playing this game, though, forever, for multiple days, multiple weeks, multiple months, in between seasons. Now, maybe future seasons, actually, for sure, future seasons, I'll jump back in just to see what they're doing, but I can't imagine myself, playing this game daily. Okay, so as far as gameplay goes, that's what I think. The biggest issues is the repetitiveness and the doing the same things over and over, the same enemies over and over. I think there is enough fun there at times, but then actually overall, I don't feel myself being pulled back into playing this game. No, I literally put it down, walked over to my computer and started this, but I don't feel a massive urge to continue after the base game. Let's talk about visuals and sound real fast, just kind of get that out of the way. I actually think this game looks quite good. I do want to throw out there, so the facial animations is something that was made quite a big deal of, and it does look very next gen. In fact, that probably looks the best of the entire game, besides maybe like Brainiac's ship, like always in the distance. There's a really cool vibe there, but their facial animations are quite intense, and I would say in a good way. However, as the game goes, they tend to focus on, and maybe I was focusing on them, but there's a lot of instances in this game with the camera work and almost like silence in cutscenes where something will happen and they'll make it a point to show everybody's face like 2 or 3 times, like overly long, if you know what I mean. And it's just kind of weird. And maybe it's because they're showing off the technology, but eventually it's like, all right, I get it. Like, are we supposed to look at their cheekbones? Like what's going on? Why do we have to focus on it for so long? And that just kept kind of popping up. So while it looked good, and I actually think the world looks pretty darn good as well. I know there's like the videos and the comparisons of Arkham Knight and stuff. I'm not going to get too much into that when reviewing this game. I do think this game overall looks pretty darn good. Day, night, if it's raining, if it's sunny out, I think overall it looks good. The sound, I think it's acted well. We'll talk about the dialogue and the story in a second, but definitely acted well. And then, I mean, it's just a lot of sounds of bullets. And actually, towards the end of the game, I don't know if it's because I've played it so many hours in just basically a 25, 26 hour span, but something was going on, with my Deadshot, where when I was firing, just it wasn't like making noises for me, and I don't understand what was going on there. So I feel like the game almost had an overload. And you know what? Actually, I do want to talk about this for right now, and then we'll talk about story and characters at the very end. Let's talk about what's going on screen, okay? Now, this was a huge topic of debate, and I would say this is separate from gameplay, right? I mean, you're doing gameplay as these things are popping up, but this is what you're seeing second to second. So I understand you can turn a lot of things off, okay? And actually, I would say early on in the game, there's not really a lot of problems. Now, I turned off the number popping. It's always been a thing. I mean, there's select games I don't mind it, but probably 90% of the time, I don't want it. I turned it off in Gotham Knights. I turned it off in Hogwarts Legacy. I don't need it in these kind of games, so I turned that off. I think that helps, and you know what? By the end of the game, I couldn't even imagine more numbers popping off these characters because there's already so much going on. So I will say all of this with like knowing, literal knowledge that you can turn a lot of these things off, okay? However, there's a lot of things that are kind of mandatory. Like you need to keep track of certain things on the screen at any given time. So while you can turn some stuff off, let's say you really want to have most of it on. Okay, well that forces you almost to have it on. All right, well what does it look like? Well, you can see by these clips, and let me tell you something. By the end of the game, it is, I would say, the most chaos I've ever seen in a game in my entire life. And my gaming experience and my gaming knowledge base has really grown in the last 5 years. I've played hundreds upon hundreds of games in, say, the last 5 years. I've never seen something like this in my life. I can't believe how many things are on screen. And this is effects, right? Enemies will have effects on them because of you. Not just you, but also your allies. There'll be bullets coming in every freaking direction. You know what? Most times they actually don't hit you, which is rather nice of it. But there's just so much going on. There's explosions. There's shields. There's like the lottery thing. And actually, I'll be honest, I don't actually know what that does, okay? There's like the lottery pull down where it goes 1, 2, 3, and it gives you coins. I don't know what that does. Maybe I forgot. Maybe I wasn't paying attention when they told me, but that's constantly going. Everything is going. And by the end, when you're facing Brainiac, I mean, again, these are fresh in my mind because I've been playing, all day. Towards the second half of the game, when you start to really enhance your character, and again, you're a lot stronger. I think the gameplay actually shines the more advanced your character is. Okay, I'll say that. Absolutely. It's more fun, and it just feels a little bit more tactical, and again, the customization comes into play and all that jazz, okay? But also there's a trade-off because there's so much going on screen, and when I was facing Brainiac, I couldn't find him. Now, I know this maybe brings up the IGN Flash thing. That one wasn't so bad. Green Lantern wasn't so bad. Superman, I mean, it's just one character, so you're trying to, keep up with him and stuff. But I would say if you're facing a boss and there's like 5,000 enemies around you, it becomes very difficult to find that boss. And it is. It's very, I actually can't believe how hard it was at times to do it. And even not just the final boss, but there's a couple things, again, in my head that I can remember playing today on Saturday. If you look at the mini map at times, there could be, and I like to exaggerate, okay? It's a part of me. I really can't stop myself. There are, no joke, probably 30 to 50 red dots on your mini map at any given time in certain, circumstances, okay? There are some side missions where enemies will not stop. Actually, like the penguin ones are good examples, right? You're going around, you're trying to get his, people and bring it to the truck. Well, when you're doing that, no joke, you could have enemies every freaking direction. Eventually there's the flash, sniper enemies that if you shoot them, they'll actually dash away. So you have to wait to counter shot them. And I like counter shotting things. I actually think it's a fun mechanic. But when there's like 6 of them every direction and they're sniping you and you have to look to counter shot them. Meanwhile, there's 2 brutes. Meanwhile, there's 500 enemies, to your left and right. It becomes too much. And now, okay, well, maybe the bots, like having other people, like maybe that helps. The bots are actually pretty smart. That's something I want to throw out there. Bots are smart. They use their abilities. They use their effects, all that shit. They're actually pretty darn good. They don't necessarily play objectives, and that is one issue I have found late in the game. If it's like almost capture like an area kind of thing, it's like a hacking side mission. And if you're getting hacked at 2 locations at once, everybody just goes to one, right? You go to one and then the bots follow you. So they are smart. They are actually, I would say, way above average in combat, but they don't know how to split up. So late game and actually like end game, I can't actually imagine doing some of these missions with the bots because I need people to like handle different things, right? So, and actually, I would say that's important. You could say, well, Alex, get friends, like invite the community. Well, number one, I'm going to, okay? I do intend to play with you guys. But number 2, there's plenty of people that have asked me directly, can you play this game by yourself? You can, but there's actually, I would say, only a certain point to that. And maybe it's the end of the game, but the end game is supposed to be important to this game, right? So that's important to keep in mind that it's actually going to ramp up difficulty and be pretty hard because the bots, they don't, take up their own objective. Okay, so we've gone off track. We've gotten back on track. Let's talk about the story and the characters. So overall, I like the Suicide Squad, okay? I like them. I like their banter. They did actually make me laugh. Flash made me laugh a few times. There's a couple times that they got me, and I'll give it to them. But there's also some times where it's hit or miss, and you actually almost question, like, was it supposed to be a miss, right? Like, did they write the joke to be cheesy? Is the suicide, like a corny kind of joke, right? That's not going to land because it comes from, say, Boomerang, and nobody laughs. Well, that's supposed to, play off his character. That's possible. That's definitely possible. But I would say I laughed maybe at like 20, 30% of the jokes. The rest of them didn't hit. But again, maybe some weren't supposed to. I would have liked a little bit of evolution of these characters, or growth. Growth is the better word, okay? There is some growth with these 4, but overall, not a lot at all. And I would say the game gets very, very messy the further it goes. I mean, we are going to get into spoilers, okay? It's very hard to talk about the story if we're not going to do that. So leave at this point if you don't want to hear the story. I would say overall, I'm not impressed by this game. We'll talk about my final thoughts after the story, and maybe I can even put like a chapter in this video so you guys can skip ahead, all right? So spoilers. All right, let's just talk about this story, okay? Listen, killing the Justice League. It's in the name. It's in the name of the game. And so I can only get so mad at them. And I think, the people saying that, right? There's a lot of people online saying, well, are you surprised? Are you surprised that you kill the Justice League in a game called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? Now, it's not kills, it's kill. So it's almost like an order, right? Like the game's name is literally a direct order to kill them. All right, whatever. Semantics aside. Am I surprised they died? No. In fact, I predicted, a few months ago, or I tried to give predictions as to who would die. Now, I said probably most of them, but not all of them. Well, I guess that was wrong, but I did expect it. It's how they handled it. And, I mean, you can bring in respect. Like, respect is definitely a thing people have thrown out there. But I would even just say, like, how it's arranged. As it goes, it actually gets more and more messy. I almost feel like there's a good amount of weight to Flash, even though, the Boomerang thing that happened there, I take it or leave it, I guess. But I feel like there's actually kind of weight there because you're so almost underpowered, right? And you're going up against your first, this is a tough person, and this is, a member of the Justice League. So I felt like there was kind of weight there, and because it was earlier on in the story, by the time it gets to the end and you just shoot Batman, there's not a lot of weight to it, like at all. I don't think they took it as a joke, but I guess what I would say is this, like, who was the story made for, right? Because Batman, you played in the Arkham games. We've wanted a Superman game for a long time. People have asked for a Flash game and Green Lantern. And so, like, you're going after these people, and it just didn't feel impactful. It actually got to the point, like, after Batman died, I got to be honest, my brain, where I kind of was with the situation, is I just don't really care. Like, it's almost a blend of what people are saying, where it's like, it's just a video game. Like, these are fictional characters, and yeah, they murdered them, but, like, get over it, that kind of attitude. I wouldn't say get over it. I'm not taking that approach, but I almost kind of disconnected, where it's like, whatever, like, this is happening. I'm not, like, emotionally invested in it. It wasn't hitting me at all, because I kind of just, like, put up a barrier where it's like, I don't even care what's going on anymore. Superman dying, it's like, well, you know what, Batman died, so why not Superman as well, right? So I don't know, it almost like emptied me. I guess that's actually, in a weird way and in a longer way than I should, that's kind of what I'm saying. This game almost, like, emptied my soul, where it's like, well, I don't care anymore. Now, here's the thing, right? And again, we're talking spoilers. Everything's on the table here. When it comes to, like, post-launch stuff, I don't know if people are going to get to the post-launch stuff. I don't know if people are going to be around that long. So for me, it's like, you kill these people, and even if they're not the actual Justice League, how many people that bought the game are going to make it 2, 3, 4, 5 months to see the legit ending? Very few, a very small percentage. If it follows really history of other live service games. So I don't really take that as an excuse, just because if people don't get to that point, if the game itself wasn't a success and made people kind of excited for what's to come, what does it matter? You know what I mean? Why even do it in the first place? So, I don't even know. I'm actually, I would say, at a loss for words. Was I pleased to kill these people? No, I was not pleased at all. The Batman fight was actually kind of cool, with the Nightmare thing, and his mission was kind of cool. But there was a few times where, like, the game would just have some weird device, or like objective to the mission that would, like, really anger me. Like, sometimes they don't tell you right away what you're supposed to do. You have to either figure it out, or they'll tell you, like, a few minutes in, which is just odd, because normally they tell you in the beginning, and then just sometimes they don't. So yeah, the actual killing the Justice League part, not a fun time. I didn't enjoy doing it, and eventually, I gotta be honest, like, I didn't want to, obviously, but it didn't do anything for me, because I kind of gave up. I kind of gave up on the emotional investment into this game. There was actually some investment with Flash, and then Green Lantern a little bit less, and then Batman, like, you see it coming. You absolutely see it coming, and, Harley ends him there, and there's a little weight to it, or, to at least what she says, but I don't know, it just ends. And, like, even sometimes how they die, any of them, like, in the arena, right? So, like, actually, all of them but Batman, right? Because Flash, Green Lantern, and Superman, you beat up, and it almost seems like they wanted to do a cutscene, but they are there, and then you fire off the last couple rounds when they're just, like, in the middle of an arena, and they just fall and die. And, there's a cutscene after of the Suicide Squad going up to them, but there's no, I don't know, there's no weight to their death. It's like it's just an enemy dropping dead at the end of a gunfight, and it just didn't feel like that's how you would do, superheroes. And even, like, Wonder Woman, man, that one's tough. Like, even if these Justice League members are not the real ones, well, Wonder Woman was real, and she's absolutely dead. So, I don't know. I really can't say anything good about that. So where does that leave us? I wanted to like this game, and I actually think at some points I did like this game. There are legitimately cool cutscenes. There are legitimately good conversations. There's emotion here and there. Visually, the game looks pretty okay. Gameplay, I get it, but I also don't get it. And that's very weird. I get how people can like it. I understand that I'm just one person. I'm myself, right? So I'm not gonna force myself to like something that I don't like. And I also hope that works the other way around, right? People saying, well, why can't you just accept it? Well, if it's not the kind of thing for me, and then the question again comes up. who is this game for? This game is for looter, shooter, I guess always on live service kind of thing. And I don't think the game has it. And that really, I would say, that comes down to the basic idea that I actually started with. There's not enough variety, even to be what the game wants to be, which is this, play it every day and come back for these seasons and stuff. There's like 4 or 5 missions. That's it. That's the entirety of the game. And once you play it for like 3, 4, 5 hours, you've seen it all. You've seen all the gameplay. Then you're just there for the story. And then once the story's over, and it maybe upset you, maybe it didn't, but then you're back to the gameplay again. So I don't know. I actually don't know who this game is for, and it's probably not for me. I don't think it's terrible. I don't know if any part of, well, okay, you could say like insulting. I've definitely seen people, very mad at the Justice League thing, right? So you could say that. I don't know if any part of it is like awful. There's a couple sequences that feel rushed from the story department, and again, almost where it looks like they're going to do a cutscene and they don't do it, or whatever. But I don't know if any of it is bad or terrible. It's just very average, below average, and just for a specific group that I don't even know if they exist in large numbers, large numbers. I don't know if they're even out there. And then to choose the Arkham brand, I don't know what that idea was either. You could have, especially because this goes multiverse, right? And it ends without even a real ending. Oh, let me throw that in. Final thoughts time be damned. I want to say one other thing. I said about this game that I wanted like a true ending, right? Because a big problem with some games, live service, is that they'll end, but they don't really end, right? So they rely on live service to carry. And I guess maybe that's what live service is. But the way I would like it is for a game to have a beginning, middle, and end, definitive end. And then if you want to do live service and you want to continue it, build from that end, like end it. And then if you want to keep going, build something, additional to the base game. What this game does is, and I'm going to spoil this, literally there's 13 Brainiacs, you kill one, there's 12 left. It ends the game telling you need to kill 12 more of these mother effort, okay? That's how the game ends. And that is not ending the game. It's not even close, right? You kill the Justice League, you kill one Brainiac, you got 12 more to go that you really can't, actually, you can't, not really, you can't do that until these extra seasons. So I guess by that math, you've done 1/13 of the game, and that's the base game. And then you have to do 12/13 afterwards. That, to me, it's a blatant setup. It's a blatant setup for the DLC, and I've said this, I stand on principle here. I stand on what I, have said in the past. Any game, any freaking game that does that, I immediately have a huge problem with it. End the game. Have a definitive end. This game does not, because there's literally still problems in their world. There's still issues. And then, after that, you have to do 12 more Brainiacs. So that's not even close to an end. So yeah, I wanted to throw that out there because I had a huge feeling, well, actually, based off all of this stuff and the Elseworlds and all this stuff, I figured they weren't going to really have an ending. I would say this is worse than what I thought, because I thought, well, you could kind of wrap it up and then keep going. Like maybe you defeat your Brainiac, but then you have to, but it's actually, I would say it's worse than that. So yeah, that's my overall thoughts. And I guess to stress, I said it very briefly, but I do want to say it, to end this, because I think this is important. At the end of the day, you play games for the reason, that you play games. For me, there's got to be something, right, that grabs me. And I'm sure that's that way for everybody, but what grabs you is different, for each person. I can tell you as a fact, and this is myself saying this, like in my own heart, right? There's not enough to pull me back. Sitting here doing this, I'd rather play Infinite Wealth. I'd rather play Persona 3 than keep going. Now, I will keep going because I do want to play with the community and, just a little bit more. Maybe we can talk about it in future videos. So almost like content and community. That's what's keeping me playing this game. Honestly, not the game itself. The game itself is not pulling me in. Right now, I'm literally actually behind the scenes, I'm looking at the pause screen, okay? There's not a desire. And why do I stress that so much? Like, that's the thing. That's, the game is supposed to keep going. And it needs to pull me in, and it didn't. It did not pull me in. And that's disappointing because the game really, I think, could have pulled me in. I really believe that. So it is sad. It's not all that unexpected. I had fun at times, but I really I don't know, like, look, in all my reviews, I don't give scores. I don't give scores. I just talk. I literally talk in reviews, and you can take away whatever you want to take away. If what I say sounds good to you, fantastic. If what I say sounds bad to you, deters you from that's fine. You know what I mean? That's fine too. It's what you guys, I guess, take away from what I'm saying. I want you guys to make your own, judgments on this game, and I've seen it. I've seen people do it themselves, and that's great. That's what I think everybody should do. So let me know what you think. I will be doing like a spoiler cast kind of video, and we'll do that tomorrow where maybe we just talk about, the ending and the characters and then the story, like just that part alone. So make sure you subscribe, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you there.